Hey guys, today I want to talk about a complete guide to raising your own rabbits. Now there's a couple of things to consider before you even buy your first rabbit. The big question you're going to have to ask yourself is, what breed do I want? More importantly, how do you figure out what breed you want? Well, you need to sit down with yourself and really ask yourself some tough questions. What exactly do I want to get from this experience? Do I want to raise show quality rabbits? Do I want to raise pet quality rabbits and sell them for pets? Do you want to raise meat rabbits like we do? Do you want to supply yourself and your family with some homegrown meat? There's some tough questions you have to ask yourself. Now, if you have kids in 4-H, they may be interested in raising the show rabbits. Rio here is a standard Rex rabbit, and he is actually pedigreed, and he is a show quality rabbit. Now, we bought him not because we want to raise show quality rabbits. We're looking to get into the pet quality, but we wanted some color, and he's a tri-male, so that's why we got him. We had a desire to raise pet quality rabbits as well as meat rabbits, and so Rio fit our needs very, very well. But we had some clear-cut goals. We wanted to raise pet rabbits, and we wanted our pet rabbits to have lots of color in them, so that when we post those pictures online, people will be drawn to those pictures because the rabbits are full of color. Now, along with pet quality rabbits, I had a desire to raise some meat rabbits. I've raised meat rabbits on and off for most of my life. Growing up, my dad raised meat rabbits, and I've raised meat rabbits on and off for several years. But there is some work associated with raising meat rabbits. Another question you have to ask yourself is how much space you have to raise these rabbits in. Now, 1 or 2 rabbits don't take up much space, and so if you're just wanting a pet, 24 by 30 inch cage is plenty for 1 rabbit. So you could have a couple of rabbits really easy in a very, very small space. On the other hand, if you're going to be raising meat rabbits, you're going to have some space. Number one, you have to have at least the 24 by 30 inch cage. You're gonna have to have nesting boxes. You're gonna have to have a male and a female. You're gonna have to have a spot for them to kindle, which is birth. You're also gonna have to have a spot for that litter to grow out. So you're gonna have either grow out cages or rabbit tractors. Another thing to consider with the meat breeds is, do you have it in you to take a life? When you say, hey, I wanna raise some of my own meat, there's gonna come a time when you're gonna have to take a life. And if you're not capable of doing that, or you feel uncomfortable with doing that, the meat breeds probably aren't for you. You should maybe consider raising another breed of rabbit. Now here we raise both pet quality and meat rabbits, and so we have breed stock for both. And those are rabbits that we're allowed to get attached to, the kids can play with, and we don't have to worry about one day those having to be processed. So we have set breeders, and we have the space in the room to both deal with the kindling as well as the grow out. All right, so let's go over the pet rabbits that we raise. Infrastructure that you have to have in place for both the meat rabbits and the pet rabbits are pretty much the same. We have these cages. They're 24 inches wide and 30 inches long. Each one of these are our female cages. They each have a nest box attached to them for kindling. And that is the same with the meat rabbit and the pet rabbit. The only thing different between the two is that with the pet rabbits, once the babies reach about 6 weeks old, 6 to 8 weeks old, we go ahead and list those, and they're sold right at weaning. And so we don't have to worry about homing them in a separate cage. They go straight from the mom onto their next house. Now with the meat rabbits, they're born in the cages over there the same way that the pet rabbits are. They're allowed to stay with their mom until they're about 6 to 8 weeks of age. And as soon as they're old enough They're weaned, and then they're brought out here to our grow out cages. Now this is another piece of infrastructure you have to have when you're raising the meat rabbits. You have to have a spot for those rabbits to grow out and grow from about the 6-week-old weaned rabbit to the 10 or 12-week-old rabbit that you then harvest for meat. Another consideration with the meat rabbits is that growing those meat rabbits out takes a considerable amount of food. Way more food than the pet rabbits, because the pet rabbits are basically sold as soon as they're able to eat the feed. And so they're nursing on their mom, and they go straight from nursing to being weaned and then sold off rather quickly. Whereas the meat rabbits have to go to a grow out pen, and they have to be fed for an additional 6 to 8 more weeks. Another way you can grow out those rabbits is in a rabbit tractor. Now, we don't have a rabbit tractor because we don't use them here. It's something that I'd like to get into, but we just haven't done that. We use the grow out pens. But now we do have this chicken tractor. We've got our chicks in there now. They just came out of the brooder, and we just put those in there last night. But the same type of a deal can be done with rabbits. You can put rabbits in a rabbit tractor. I'll throw a picture of a rabbit tractor here. You have to have either wire or slats in the floor of the tractor, because if you don't, the rabbits can dig underneath. Now, another benefit of using the rabbit tractor versus the grow out pens is that you will save on feed. They'll be munching on the grass, they'll be eating pasture, and so that'll help to supplement the feed cost, which is kind of why we want to try it. You have the pasture to do it. Pasturing your rabbits out on a rabbit tractor is a very, very good idea. All right, by now you've asked yourself the tough questions. What is my goal for these rabbits? What is the purpose for raising these rabbits? And you've narrowed it down and you've got your breed in mind. Now we're gonna go over housing. We're gonna break down the housing. I'm gonna show you our housing, and it's really simple. You can have quite a few rabbits in a very small space. All right, guys, the first style house is just your basic rabbit hutch. One side houses our female standard Rex, which will be bred to trio, our standard buck, to produce some pets. Now let's go over some basics you're gonna need inside the hutch. One thing is a board. This is actually corrugated plastic. It's kind of like cardboard, but it's plastic. You could have a board. You could have a piece of plywood. You could have just a simple piece of cardboard, although they're gonna chew that up pretty quickly. But just something that they can get on and sit on to get themselves off of this cage. If they're allowed to sit on this cage wire 24/7 and they don't have anything to kind of jump up on and give their feet a break, you risk damaging their feet and getting sores on their feet. So you have to have that piece in there. You have to have at least one in every one of your cages. Another thing they're gonna have to have is access to fresh water at all times. Now here, we use just simple waters, these little rubber Crocs you can get at TSC. They're super handy, especially in a climate like this that does get below freezing for most of the winter. And so with these rubber Crocs, you just get them, slam them on the ground, break that ice out and fill them back up. There's plenty of elaborate gravity-fed automatic waterers that you can get, some systems that run off a 5-gallon bucket, hoses to each cage. We don't do that here because, like I said, it freezes during the winter and we don't want to have to keep switching out their waterers. Now the one behind this cage behind me is our female cage. It houses all our mama rabbits except for our one other mama rabbit that is in that hutch that I just showed you. But we've got we have a mini Rex here that's going to be a pet quality, as well as a New Zealand mama and another New Zealand mama down there. One thing all of our female rabbits cages have is a nest box. Now, we don't give them access to their nest box all the time because they tend to just make it into a litter box. But on that 27th day after they're bred, which is about 3 days before they kindle, we give them access to this box. We get fresh bedding in there. And so for these all metal female cages, the ones that I just showed you, each one of these has a simple little nest box built to the side of it. It's got this little flip down door that gives us easy access to both cleaning it out as well as checking on those babies. This box is what my little girl's holding up right here. It's just your standard rabbit nest box. That's the kind of nest box that we use in our rabbit hutches, ones that don't have access to these built on. Just really simple to make, and the rabbits do very, very well in these as well. Okay guys, that just about does it for this video. Hopefully I've given you enough information for you to at least get started. You'll be able to know which questions to ask yourself, choose a breed, know what type of housing you're gonna need. In the next video, we'll go over feeding and breeding your rabbits. Until next time, see y'all.